In the air, Srishant takes it. India wins.
He'll come back for the second. India have won the test match. India have won the series.
They're going to get back for two. India at home. Lords goes wild.
Hello and welcome to a tragic episode of 81 All Out podcast. We've just witnessed a thrilling Syed Mushtaq Ali final. I don't have to remind at least my guests about the result. And we also have the big Ranji Trophy season coming up. So with that in mind, we thought we will do a Ranji special. And we could have done quite a few things, but the tragic in me chose to talk to a couple of fellow Tamil Nadu tragics who followed the Tamil Nadu performances in Ranji Trophy over the years with a lot of disappointment, no doubt. So let's welcome the two guests for today. K. Balakumar, a journalist from Chennai. Hi, Bala.
Hi, Mahesh.
Welcome. And I also have another
nice.
journalist from Chennai again, Dipak Ragav. Hi, Dipak.
Hi, Mahesh. Good to be on the spot.
Thank you. Thanks for joining. Before getting anywhere, the first question to both of you, let me start with Deepak on this occasion because Bala, I can understand. He grew up in an environment where you kind of tended to support your state. But Deepak grew up at a time when you could support a club in Manchester, for instance. Why did you even start following Tamil Nadu?
I think it's just trying to show off to people that I follow cricket a bit more than the rest of the guys in school. So when everyone's talking about international cricket, I just picked up this habit of reading a newspaper around 97, 98, and then the Sports Star also helped a bit. So I started following the Ranji Trophy scores in Sports Star, the images. I learned some new names like Vijay Yadav, and that's how I found out there was a Tamil Nadu Ranji team to begin with. So that's how my initiation to Ranji Trophy itself started. And then you slowly learned a couple of Tamil cricketers playing for India. I think Sriram was one, Tamil Kumaran was one. I think he started in 98, 99. I think between 96 and 98, I don't know how many other Tamil Nadu cricketers played. So that was one. Another one was Ashish Kapoor in one of those old, the Big Fun bubblegum cards or the cricket cards that you used to get, Guts for Glory and something like that. And then I saw Ashish Kapoor's, I don't remember what it was. I think it was Big Fun, there was a chewing gum, the big cards you get on these cricketers.
Mm-hmm.
So I found out Ashish Kapoor's card, weirdly enough, and I saw him representing Tamil Nadu. I was like, what is Ashish Kapoor doing in Tamil Nadu? So that's how my initiation into domestic cricket in India itself started with.
Okay, I can understand the sort of teething phase of getting into domestic cricket, but you could have still chosen some other team. Why Tamil Nadu?
I think that just we are from Tamil Nadu. Nothing beyond that actually. I didn't know nothing about domestic cricket. I didn't know much about. I didn't even know where Sachin played or anything of that sort. I just thought, what is Ashish Kapoor doing in a Tamil Nadu team, and that's how it all started actually for me.
Okay.
Because Sports Star used to carry in-depth Ranji Trophy reports. I don't remember how much of Ranji Trophy was covered in the Hindu per se. I don't remember a lot, but I remember reading old Sports Star copies, and they had the Ranji Trophy reports there. That's where I started reading more on Ranji Trophy. And I believe ESPN showed some matches during the 97, 98 seasons around that time. Sports Center, I think
they used
ESPN
to show
had some matches.
Highlight package, highlight package and some of the big matches,
Yeah, something like that. And I remember Anil Kumble playing a match or something like that. And Anil Kumble used to, as a promo kind of thing, he used to show how to bowl a leg spin, gripping the ball or something like that. So those were like the initial times where I started following Ranji, and then Tamil Nadu just became natural to me. I think I just followed Tamil Nadu because I'm from here. Nothing beyond that. I didn't know who were the big names back then.
Fair enough. Just one question on the Kumble video. Was he learning or was he showing?
He was showing actually. He was showing how to grip a ball.
No, as a Tamil Nadu fan, I was just making fun of the fact that he doesn't bowl leg spin. He was learning.
Yeah.
After all, he's no Shiva.
Yeah, he's no Shiva. Yeah.
On to Bala. Tell us something about how it started and why Tamil Nadu. You could have chosen Bombay when you started. They were the champions. Karnataka, maybe they had Vishy.
But as he said, being in Tamil Nadu, I mean, there was obviously no other choice. I mean, it was, I mean, you can call it parochialism or whatever it is. I mean, of course, I was a huge fan of Sunil Gavaskar, but it never occurred to me that I should be supporting Bombay or Karnataka at the time Vishwanath was playing and Prasanna Chandrasekhar, who were your idols as part of the Indian team. But it never occurred to me as an youngster that I should be supporting a team other than that the state I hailed from. And one of the real reasons for me to get fascinated by Ranji Trophy in itself, forget about Tamil Nadu, in the sense, the two main English papers of the time, Hindu and Indian Express in Tamil Nadu, they used to designate reporters to Tamil Nadu Ranji matches and had them covered extensively, which was not the norm in other newspapers in other states because they used to fall back on bland agency copies. It was certainly not the case in Tamil Nadu. And you also had strong cricket reporters like Rajan Bala, R. Mohan, Suresh Menon, who were covering international matches, who brought in that international flavor to cover local Ranji matches. So, for a growing up youngster, it was easy for me to follow those games and also get fascinated by the exploits of Tamil Nadu cricketers who were given a lot of space in those papers and magazines that they were writing for. And also, it helped, at least in my personal case, that my dad was following TN cricket keenly, and he had filled me with stories of MJ Gopalan, C.R. Rangachari, Kripal Singh, Milka Singh, and here I'm a stock of Gopalan. See, old timers recall him as a fearsome fast bowler. Much of it I now believe can be put down to typical urban legend. But MJ Gopalan, to whom goes the credit of bowling the first ever delivery in Ranji Trophy history in 1934. There was a match between Madras and Mysore, the first ever Kaveri derby, by the way, was a fascinating character for a growing up person. He was a double international. Gopalan also played hockey and represented India I mean, Gopalan was in line to be picked for the 1936 Berlin Olympics. A lot of people may not remember it, but he chose to skip the Olympic trials and instead got picked for the Indian cricket team to the English tour in 1936. As it happened, he never got to play in that, even in a single test in that tour, because the tour was driven by a lot of internal politics and selection issues. But as it equally happened, the Indian hockey team won the gold at Berlin. So his seeming personal tragedy made him a larger than life hero in my growing up. I mean, in my eyes, even though I had very little actual knowledge of Gopalan's career record at that time. And of course, then there was Venkat Ragavan, TN's very own Mr. Cricket of the 60s and 70s. The stories of him, many of them apocryphal, I learned later, all fired up my early imagination of TN Ranji cricket. And in the late 1980s, I got acquainted with the remarkable story of Kota Ramaswamy. I first heard his name when it was reported that he, a former Indian cricketer, as a headline in the regular newspaper, former Indian cricketer disappears from his residence in Madras. I didn't have a clue who this cricketer was. It later turned out that he was C. Ramaswamy, and his life and time deserves a special chapter in Indian cricket history. Because he was then again a double international. He had represented India in tennis too. He played in the Davis Cup for India. He was born into an illustrious family. I mean, perhaps Mahesh, you may know, he was the son of Buchibabu Naidu, who we all know by the tournament in his name. Ramaswamy was something of a legend in local cricketing circles. He was a Cambridge Blue. He was the tennis champion at Cambridge. He played 2 test matches in England in 1936 when he was already 40. He later wrote that he was picked for non-cricketing reasons. He didn't elaborate much on that, but that's what he said. Though well past his prime at the time, he scored 40 and 60, and his career average when he retired was 56. He was a fine left-handed batsman. That's what experts who had seen him play in the 50s say. But what added to the allure was his suspense-filled disappearance. And though he was taken to be dead in 1990, nobody is sure as to what happened to him really. And he wrote a fine autobiography in the 50s, Ramblings of a Games Addict. If any of you happen to get a chance to read that, do read it. It's an impressive work. So with such stories to fall back on, it was natural for me to fall in love with Tamil Nadu cricket and with its interesting bunch of cricketers.
That makes CB Fry look like a very vanilla character.
Exactly. I mean, you must read his book, and you must also read a lot of reports, and the reports in the Wisdom about his disappearance and his own cricketing career. it makes for a fascinating read. Fascinating read.
So this was well after his playing days. You must have become familiar with him as a story, right?
Exactly. In fact, I didn't know him as a cricketing great. As I told you, I got to know him only from the day he disappeared.
So great story. So Bala, what are some of your earliest memories of following Tamil Nadu? Who were the heroes of that time?
I mean, my memorable Ranji moments, I would say, in general, TN cricket moments over years, the early 80s and the late 80s. It was, in a sense, a watershed period for Tamil Nadu cricket itself. I mean, the feeling in TN cricket in the entirety of the 70s was that it was being meted out a stepmotherly treatment. I mean, just to give you, put things in perspective, all through the 70s decade, there was just a single debutant from Tamil Nadu in national colours, and that to Bharat Reddy, who replaced Krimani as wicketkeeper in 1979, as Krimani was then rumoured to play for the Packer series. So, apart from Venkat, TN had no real national representative, and Venkat too was unceremoniously sacked on the flight. I mean, that story is well known back home from the 1979 trip to England. So when we came into the 80s, things really changed. A flurry of talent emerged from TN almost with a vengeance. We had promising players like T. Srinivasan, K. Srikanth. We also had V. Sivaramakrishnan, very door, straight, but a reliable left-handed batsman. We also had Lakshman Sivaramakrishnan. We had T. S. Shekhar. All at the doorstep of national reckoning. And there was also Rangachari Madhavan, a fluent left-hand batsman. I mean, you must talk to a lot of local elders who will talk about his century against visiting David Gower's English team in 84-85. He played for the under 21 South Zone team that actually won that match against David Gower. That was the match in which Lakshman Sivaramakrishnan performed well, and that hastened his introduction into international cricket. To take the story forward, by the mid and late 80s, three more other players, Bharat Arun, I think W.V. Raman and Venkat Ramana had played for India in Tests. Here I have a personal reason. I must speak for Venkat Ramana, as I have a personal affinity. We both hail from Madurai. We went to the same school. He was my school senior by just 2 years, and I've seen him from his school days to his international game. He was a natural athlete, I can tell you. For long he held a long jump record for the Madurai district. And he was a very good, damn good off spinner and a very good batsman. He made his debut in 87-88, and Ramana, as we called him, scalped 37 wickets in his very first season. His exploits that included 7-4-94 in the first innings of the finals of the Ranji Trophy against Railways, helped Tamil Nadu secure the trophy famously. I mean, we have never managed to repeat that after that. It was a remarkable achievement for him and the team. By 90s, things became much more professional, and by 2000s, you had a good chunk of Tamil Nadu cricketers making it to the national, and you also had a one-day team, and by late 2000, you also had IPL and T20s. So it got scattered, but 80s is where Tamil Nadu cricket actually came of age, and that's where my formative years as a fan and then later as a journalist also happened. So I had really fond memories of the 80s.
The clock like a good 25 years later. So Deepak, how did your initiation start? Who were the heroes? Was there a particular favorite of yours when you started watching? What are the earliest memories of following Tamil Nadu? Both probably in newspaper, that's what you would have done mostly, and perhaps catching some matches in the ground.
No, I haven't watched much cricket in ground until I became a journalist. So mostly it was through newspapers and a couple of highlights or something. I'm not sure whether this happened or is it my memory playing tricks. Did one of those 2001 quarterfinals or semifinals, I don't know, the Tamil Nadu Baroda game, was just shown live on TV or maybe a delayed highlights or something? That I remember because I followed that season where Baroda won the Ranji Trophy. That season I followed a bit of the Tamil Nadu quarterfinal. So that I remember. But my favorites were like, and everything happened not from Tamil Nadu to India, it happened the other way. So I knew Hemant Badani when he played for India. Same with Sriram, he played a tournament in Kenya, I believe, if I'm not wrong. So Sridhar and Sriram, these were some of the earliest. And I learned a bit about W.V. Raman when I met him at the VB Cricket Academy. So that he played well for. I remember the '96 South Africa tour, but beyond that I didn't know much. So, but most of my Tamil Nadu appreciation happened very late. I mean, post 2006-7 only. Once Dinesh Karthik came and the stumping happened, that's when I followed a bit more seriously, actually.
Okay, so given that relatively late, I mean, I've followed some of your conversations between the two of you on the travails of being a Tamil Nadu fan, and the usually painful story of following them every season. And you come through with a lot of pain. I wonder what is it that's caused it for you, given you've started following them fairly recently. What do you think is a classic heartbreak for you from your recent experiences?
No, my issue with this heartbreak and pain is because Tamil Nadu is the classic choker team in Indian cricket. They are the South Africa of Indian domestic cricket. Because every time when you see, they usually falter at the quarterfinal, semi-final or final. And if you see the group matches, they usually will be 1 or 2 in the group stages. And you really wonder how can a team that dominates the group stages come to a knockout game and then they just, mostly it will be like they're bowled out for 150 or a 200, or they go the other extreme. They concede about 500 runs, and it's in Ranji Trophy, it's very impossible. Once you concede a big first innings total, it's tough to come back into the match unless someone plays a real gem of an innings. That's how a lot of Tamil Nadu's heartbreak has happened, I think, in recent times also. Or I think it happens throughout even 2000, if I remember. A lot of the times they dominate the group stages and then one bad match and they're out. So that's how my pain is actually, I feel the pain. That's that's classic choking to me.
So last year you would have felt better then.
Yeah, last 2 years you don't have to take so much pain and all. You knew from the start that this team is not going to do well.
Good. Going back to Bala, what is your classic heartbreak? I know you have many to choose from, but let's just zero in on one sort of match which is symbolic of the larger pain of following Tamil Nadu.
First personal favorite match. I mean, it's also a favorite match and also involves a disappointing defeat. Again, I had to go back to the early 80s. It is February 1982, and Tamil Nadu was taking on Delhi in Ranji quarters. It was a match in Chennai itself. TN was led by Venkat Ragav. Soon after reaching the ground, Sunil Walson was at that time was turning out for Tamil Nadu. He was donning TN colours. He told Venkat that he may not be fully fit. Venkat, we were later told, gave him around 30 minutes to confirm his status. And Walson apparently reiterated his physical state, and Venkat quietly walked up to a 16-year-old schoolboy who had been in the squad and told him, "You are playing today." The young boy was Lakshman Sivaramakrishnan. He was being debuted against the Delhi side, which, to recall, included Chetan Chavan, Raman Labba, the Amarnaths, Surinder and Mohinder, Madan Lal, and Kirti Azad. I mean, obviously, Lakshman Sivaramakrishnan was delighted, but it left him completely unprepared, as he was not hoping to play in that match because TN 11 had 2 other star spinners, Venkat and Vasudevan. Vasudevan, you may also recall, was the one who captained Tamil Nadu later to a famous Ranji Trophy triumph. But Lakshman Sivaramakrishnan later said that he had hoped that TN would bat first, as that would give him time to mentally prepare himself. But then again, as luck would have it, TN bowled first, and LS was brought on before lunch on the very first day. He took 2 wickets in the first innings as Delhi posted, and I think a 400 plus score. I don't exactly remember the specific score. They scored over 400. TN was bowled out for less than 300. But what happened on the last session on day 3 remains one of the most important moments in TN cricket. After Vasudevan bowled very well in that innings, he took 3 early wickets. Delhi had moved on to almost 100 with Mohinder and Kirti Azad playing very well. After tea, Venkat called on LS, and you know Venkat you would have heard a lot of stories about Venkat, how he would speak to his players, and he was also very stern in his voice. He apparently told Sivaramakrishnan, "Can you see those footmarks outside the leg stump? Do not think of the opposition names. Just look at those spots, pitch the ball there, forget it. Don't matter if you go for runs or anything, forget about anything, just bowl there." So like Sivarakrishnan just followed his captain's directions. He spun a web around the Delhi batsman as one after another came and departed. Siva took for 7 for 17 in the post-T spell as Delhi lost last 7 wickets for just around 27 or 28 runs. So, so that was a huge thing for a 16-year-old boy who was then studying at Vidya Mandir, who had his friends come over for that match, and so it was a remarkable spell. But unfortunately, what happened was Tamil Nadu batsmen couldn't match up to that such an inspiring spell of bowling. I mean, they played well in patches, but when it came to the crucial, I mean, when it came to the crunch, they typically let their nerve drop. We lost. I mean, when I say we, Tamil Nadu lost that match by 20 runs. I mean, we well shot by 20, and once again, that was a typical disappointing heartbreak story because that would have been a great morale booster for Lakshman Srinivasan to have played in the semi-finals in that same vein of form. But it didn't happen because Tamil Nadu lost that. That was one of those really heartbreaking moments for me. And I can also add personally because another match that was equally heartbreaking for a different reason. Because then again, that also involved Tamil Nadu and Delhi. It was in 1998. It was a league match, and then again, I'll go into the third day because the days typically you build up a huge first inning score and try and shut the second batting team batting second out. It was a typical match. Tamil Nadu scored around 470 odd. So Delhi was in a tight spot with around 183 for 4. So that's where the drama really began because there was a ball change. There was some problem with the ball, and this was after tea. There was a ball change, and Delhi's innings included Ajay Sharma. He was batting well at around 50 odd, 55 to be precise, and he was having a look at the changed ball. He was having a chat with the umpires. Then he came back to his crease, and to his consternation, he found the pitch totally damaged. He said he found a huge patch of the turf totally damaged at the Goodland spot. He immediately drew the attention of the two umpires, who also brought in the match referee kind of person. I don't know whether there was a match referee actually. There were off-field officials who were also summoned. And as per Ajay Sharma's subsequent statement, all officials agreed that the pitch had been tampered with and would have posed difficulties to the batsmen. So the match was halted then and there ahead of the schedule, and BCC ordered that the pitch be repaired and play be resumed on the next day. But the play didn't resume the next day because Delhi didn't want to take the field because it felt the pitch had been tampered deliberately and the host body will have to default the game. Tamil Nadu was not taken to be as having defaulted the game. But the TN's wicketkeeper Ruben Paul was decided as the guilty party for damaging the pitch willfully. He was initially suspended for life. Later, it was reduced to a year, but his career came to an abrupt halt. But to this day, he maintains that he was the fall guy for what was a team decision. After the match, both Tamil Nadu and Delhi were both suspended for the rest of the Ranji season. This happened in 97-98 for bringing the game into disrepute. So this was a matter of shame for Tamil Nadu cricket because Tamil Nadu cricketers were at fault. Though Delhi didn't take the field and it defaulted, but to be fair, it was all started by Tamil Nadu cricketers, and it will remain a blot on Tamil Nadu cricket's history.
I'll just add one thing to what Bala said. I recently came to know about this incident quite like a year or two, and there's an interesting story to this. Now the Lodha committee has come up with the qualification criteria for selectors at even Ranji Trophy level. So recently Tamil Nadu had a selector who had to be disqualified, who had to be removed because he had the number of matches he played included the 97-98 season, and since those records were expunged, his qualification criteria fell below the 20 first class matches. So he had to be removed from the senior selection committee and has been put in charge of the junior selection committee for this year.
And that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, his name is V. Chandramouli. Chandramouli, I don't know, the initial is V, I think. So his name is Chandramouli, who was appointed the selector for this season.
and he was actually in Jaipur during the Vijay Hazare games. So he was telling me this, that he was part of that season and his records were expunged and they are not counted. So he doesn't meet the 20 first class matches criteria now. So he's now part of the junior selection committee.
Wow. So Ruben Paul had such a massive impact.
Yeah.
So funny, when he came onto the scene, at that time was also the time when ESPN had this, snippets of Ranji Trophy highlights. And, when you watch somebody in highlights, you have no idea. And that was like my second season of following Ranji Trophy closely. And the first one was a disaster. That was the Tamil Nadu-Karnataka final that I watched, where Dravid scored 100 and Vijay Bhardwaj scored 100 and they amassed a huge first innings lead. So to add to the context, I also got into it purely for tribal reasons because I come from Tamil Nadu and I have to support Tamil Nadu. Although I've always had conflicting sort of magnetic pull towards Bombay. I did live in Bombay for 3 years and I watched a lot of Ranji Trophy. But even before that, even as a youngster, I found something very fascinating about the way Bombay went about their business. And that was even before I got to know about their legendary sort of track record. But Tamil Nadu was still my, sort of the team that I was rooting for anyway. And so it started with the disappointment, although I was a little happy that Dravid scored the 100. And then Ruben Paul, and two things you're looking for, right? One, you're looking for Tamil Nadu to win, and you're also looking for exciting players to come through the system and they'll go on to represent India. And that was also the season of Afridi, right? And Afridi kind of set the world on fire with his 37-ball 100. And in the highlights, I don't know, I must have seen barely 4 or 5 shots of Ruben Paul. And for some reason, I was imagining him to be the next Afridi. And I was very disappointed. Every time they announced a selection and he was not even in contention, I was very disappointed. Although I had no idea what was his record and what were the competitors' record or something like that. But he played 3 or 4 lofted shots exactly like the way Afridi does, kind of squaring up and lofting through down the ground. And then this happened and subsequently, actually this happened to Ruben Paul first, and subsequently I think Afridi was also caught tampering the pitch and biting the ball once for sure. I think he was also caught tampering the pitch once, if I'm not wrong. So I found it funny irony that the person that I thought would emulate Afridi it had the opposite impact, where Afridi went on to emulate Ruben Paul.
Now you sit in a different country. I mean, has your equation with Tamil Nadu has undergone any change in terms of, affinity?
Funnily, it's actually gotten a little stronger, and I find it, like now I find it I can explain that I can explain it a lot better than before. I don't think it's a simple equation of me being from Tamil Nadu and therefore following Tamil Nadu or something like that. Because I've played quite a bit of cricket there, and I've played quite a bit of cricket in Delhi as well. But somehow I felt like the kind of cricket that I played, the kind of environment that's there, the kind of ecosystem that you kind of relate to is typically the Tamil Nadu ecosystem. So when Balaji was bowling, for instance, in the last pod on fast bowling spells, I spoke about it. I felt like one of my friends from Traspuram is bowling, right? So there is that sense of brotherhood or a community that I feel with Tamil Nadu cricket, not necessarily because they represent Tamil Nadu, but with the fact that they come from the Tamil Nadu cricket ecosystem, has kind of made the connect a lot stronger. And subsequently, from the time I started following Tamil Nadu cricket to now, in between, I've also gotten in touch with some people who've been part of the Tamil Nadu team or who've been in the corridors of playing for Tamil Nadu, and people who've been in the corridors of playing for India. So you get to know a lot more, you get to understand their struggles. So in the sense, I think that sense of community is stronger now. So I have a greater reason to explain my affinity now than when I started.
So distance has given you a very good perspective.
I wouldn't say distance. Probably, the last few years in Singapore is slightly tricky to explain, but I would probably say that I spent about 7 years at a trot in Chennai, and that was the time I was getting to know the cricketing ecosystem of Tamil Nadu. And I also happened to know the family which runs Mambalam Mosquitoes.
Okay.
PC Prakash played for Tamil Nadu as well.
Yeah, he was in the finals, that 1987-88 finals. He was part of the team, I guess.
Talking of the tragic experience of watching Tamil Nadu, I have a couple of examples. One is the absolute heartbreaker, but the problem with that heartbreaker is you can't even call it a heartbreak because you lost to Sachin at his absolute best.
I knew this was coming.
So I don't know. The Dipak, do you have any context to that match that we're going to talk about?
No, not really. I read about it quite late, I guess. I think this was what, 98, 99, was it? 97,
This is 2000, yeah.
The Sachin
Yeah,
double
yeah,
hundred, right?
233.
233. Yeah, no. I very recently I read the match report one in the Hindu archives actually. It was beautifully written by Vishwanath. So I don't remember much about that knock actually.
So usually, I mean, usually you go into a Ranji Trophy match against, especially a knockout match against Bombay, feeling quite nervous and pretty much expecting the worst. And for a change, and especially with the presence of Sachin in the team, but for a change, I went in with quite a bit of expectations. And funnily, they also repaid that faith by amassing a fairly sizable total, with Badani playing a brilliant innings, going by reports and also by the fact that Sachin signed his bat after the end of that innings, which he actually carried on using even in his international sort of career for a while. And Robin Singh and Badani. And Robin Singh is always been a very mythical figure for me, because I didn't follow the early part of his career. I only started following Robin Singh after he became the captain, right? And at that time, he was not really express pace. He was bowling medium pace and he was batting at 5 and 6. So I always thought of him as this, quintessential Ranji Trophy cricketer who's very valuable for Tamil Nadu, but he doesn't really have scope to do anything more in life. And then that was the time I was learning about his start as a tier away fast bowler. My brother was talking a lot about how he used to be an express fast bowler and how over years of playing Ranji Trophy, his pace had come down and stuff like that. So I was very happy to see him score this brilliant 100. And while I was like internally hoping for a Sachin 100, I was quite comfortable in thinking that Tamil Nadu would take the first innings lead and we are safe. And then Sachin plays an absolute blinder, and I'm really going by what I've read because I don't remember seeing this match, but I have imagined it so much, I've visualized this innings so much that I feel like I've actually watched the match. I've actually watched the innings. And there was a very nice report of this innings in the Hindu, especially after the last wicket partnership that Sachin has. Quite a descriptive passage explaining that whole phase where just when the scores are level, Sachin hits a 6 out of the ground, and because I've read it so many times, I've thought about it so many times, and for days and years and months and years now, in fact, even recently, Tintin on Twitter brought it up, that I have a very familiar visual sense of that innings, but I'm absolutely sure I haven't seen a ball of it. And Bombay just about sneaked past Tamil Nadu's first innings total of 485 when they go on to 490. And if you ask anybody who was part of that match, including Badani himself, who had probably the best match of his career, would say that that's probably the best Sachin has played in first-class cricket. But at the end of the day, even if you lose to Sachin, for the first time, Tamil Nadu had a very realistic chance of defeating Bombay. I mean, hopefully on the first innings lead in a knockout match. And that was not to be. So that was quite a shattering match for me, despite the fact that we got a Sachin special. Bala, do you remember following that?
Yeah, I do remember. Because as you said, that was one of the heartbreak match for Tamil Nadu. But frankly, at that stage, I had all become a pretty senior reporter too. So it was not a heartbreak for as it would have been if I had just remained a fan. And it was, as you said, Sachin special. And you also had Robin Singh's innings was really a daddy century, because I think he scored 180 plus, though Badani's was the better innings technically and technically more sound. The Robin Singh's was typical, his resolute, determined innings coming down the order. That was a pretty interesting innings by Robin Singh. And when you look at the scorecard, you'll understand the importance of such an innings, because the next highest score in the entire Mumbai innings was Kambli's 75. Sachin's 233, followed by his Kambli's 75. And Samir Digge, I think, opened. He scored a 50 or something. Yeah. And nobody else even touched 50. So in that sense, it was a monumental. It's a monumental innings, and it is one of the iconic Sachin innings in domestic cricket. Probably on par with, say, his 136 not out in Madras, though it came in a losing cause. This was a match-winning knock, and for many young followers at the time, it cemented his stature as a cricketing icon.
And this was after he became an absolute legend, right? He had already taken Shinwan to the
Yeah,
semis
exactly,
and-
because that's important. Because it also showed how he took domestic cricket seriously, even after having become such a legend in international colours.
and it
So
was a fairly
that
good
also sent out the all the right signals for budding cricketers. Sorry, you said something.
True. No, I was about to add that it was also, unlike other Tamil Nadu attacks that we've seen over the years, it was also a fairly good Tamil Nadu attack. There was Tirunavakara Kumaran and Saragopan Mahesh, Gokula Krishnan, Ashish Kapoor, Robin Singh, even Sriram,
Sriram.
who
Sriram
himself
was
was a
there.
very good left armer.
Yeah, it was a decent bowling lineup, but it was neither here nor there. If you look at that bowling lineup, none of them will make the all-time Tamil Nadu 11 for me, at least for me.
I mean,
In that
not
sense.
like you have a flood of seamers to pick from.
Yeah,
I would
that's true.
like to
That's
put a hat in the ring for Kumaran somewhere.
I mean, let's be honest.
No, just kidding.
Kumaran was a bit lucky to get into the Indian team.
But he was also unfortunate to be dumped without really given a proper run. I mean, he took a 5-wicket haul in the tour match in Australia, although he was not given the new ball.
But the last one-day match and with the last six of Yusuf Yuhana, I mean,
Come on,
it kind
Bala,
of
you can't
sealed
go
his
by
game.
one-day match. If you had to go by one-day match, Balaji should have never made his test debut.
But you also know the kind of bowler that he was in the local circles. He never had that pace nor the guile. So, I mean, you can always back the case of somebody like T.S. Shaker, who was from a different era, because he was dumped without adequate chances. But Tirukumaran, I wouldn't stick my neck out and say that he was not backed enough. I mean, perhaps it might be just me.
No, fair enough. I just felt sorry for him that he took a 5-wicket haul and he never got a run after that in Australia.
That I understand.
Actually, I want to also talk about another match and kind of get Bala's perspective on this as well. Another heartbreaker for me was the 2002-3 final against Bombay, and that came on the back of probably the best sort of experience for me as a Tamil Nadu fan, which was in the semi-final against Delhi, which was quite a close match, and Balaji bowls beautifully, and he gets a 5-wicket haul and gets Sehwag out bowled for 99 when Sehwag was really playing well. So I thought that was like, yeah, this is the team. This is the team finally ready to take on Bombay, and then eventually they also folded in the final.
You were talking about the Hemant Badani match, no, the semi-final. I think recently on Twitter, Sachin shared, I think there was a video of Sachin sharing his thoughts on that match where he understood Badani's Tamil and he adjusted his innings accordingly. Basically, Badani was saying Inga, Anga, and Sachin apparently understood
No,
those
I mean, that's
basic
a
Tamil
little
phrases.
too much. That's
And
Pinnadi thing, no?
But Sachin apparently rates that knock very highly for him, personally, I believe.
No, he does rate it well, and in fact, anybody who was involved in that match would rate that innings quite highly. Okay, moving on. Let's talk a little bit about your background, given that both of you are journalists, and Bala kind of hinted at it at some stage that once he became a full-time journalist, he was a lot more objective about it. But still, does it come in the way of your objectivity at large? Like, I can understand if you say that you have no stake, let's say when India is playing England or something like that. That I find it easier to connect to. But would you say that about, let's say, Tamil Nadu versus Bombay, that you can stay objective and kind of watch it as a neutral if you are in the press box?
Well, as a journalist, you're naturally trained not to let your personal affinities show in your report. You don't generally show your affinity either in the press box or in your reports. Of course, you'll be a fan of a team, of a player, especially as you say, when it comes to a match involving Tamil Nadu or Bombay, your passions tend to rise high. But actually, when you sit in the press box, you unself-consciously become much more balanced. I don't know. It's an organic process that is, I mean, it's very difficult for me to explain, but it naturally happens. But so you don't show your passions that much, both in your reports as well as in the press box. But these days, when I read a lot of these reports, reporters are asked to show their biases because that's what makes the copy much more vibrant. It gives a color, as it were. So I come from a different era in the 90s where your reports were just reports, where even some of the adjectives that you use to describe a batsman short or a bowling spell or would be taken off by some of those editors. So that was a different era, and it was easy for many of us journalists at that time to remain balanced, if it were technically possible. Balanced, I use it for no other. I mean, I use it only for want of another word.
In an India match, I can be very neutral. I don't have any real stake in either team winning or losing. I don't. But in a Tamil Nadu match, I do feel. I mean, when I watch a match, there is a part of me that wants Tamil Nadu to do well. I don't know, is it because I haven't seen Tamil Nadu? Only the last 4-5 years I've been following domestic cricket as such, and it's so much fun to cover domestic cricket per se to begin with. So, and I feel a sense of, bottom of the heart, you do feel that you want Tamil Nadu to do well. So, as you know, I work for the Hindu. I write it. I'm based out of Chennai. So, a lot of these, we have the non-edition center matches against Tamil Nadu. Say if it's an MP or a Baroda, where we don't have editions in Baroda or Bhopal per se. So our focus also tends to be very Tamil Nadu centric because our core readership is here. So naturally, you tend to follow Tamil Nadu a bit more deeply, and you kind of get sucked into, analyzing every single thing. And probably, I don't know if it's just me or if it's for other reporters out of Chennai as well. You start, getting a bit too involved into the outcome of the match as well, because you think about the lead that you can write, the anecdotes or the practice sessions that you see every day, and there's just so many things. But in a IPL match or an India match, you don't have that kind of feeling. So yeah, for me, I tend to agree that I have a small, like I'm a well-wisher for Tamil Nadu, and I've seen some really painful Tamil Nadu defeats and giving up first innings leads in recent times. So it's been really very tricky situation for me.
Another kind of associated question that I want to ask both of you is that we all know that there is a lot of coverage of Tamil Nadu team in Chennai-based newspapers. Not only that, there's also a fairly in-depth coverage of the division league matches that are going on, and it's a bit like the English county system, where think of county to Test cricket as the first division to Ranji Trophy here. That it's almost a very happily insular sort of a system where you read so much about the first division exploits, and you tend to think that somehow that can get voted to Ranji Trophy, and that rarely happens. Do you find that a problem in terms of assessing the Ranji Trophy and the Tamil Nadu potential in Ranji Trophy, that we get so much coverage of the first division exploits and we get carried away with it?
It is a problem, Mahesh, because let's face it, Chennai League is one of the best, and Chennai League is where it is where most of the Tamil Nadu Ranji players come from. It is very strong and robust, and for cricketers at that level, the pay, I would say, is very adequate and acceptable. I would say corporates like Kemplas, Sanmar Group, India Cements, TVS Group, Speak, the Hindu as a sponsor also. They have also involved themselves very enthusiastically. India Cements in particular has been known to back pretty strongly young and impressive talents in their formative years. Rahul Dravid is a real case in point. I remember he was given such a solid support in the 90s that to this day he remains indebted to Srinivasan, and he will not say even a single word against him. And as you said, as far as the standard of the league goes, I'll give you an example. In 2009, when Rahul Dravid was preparing to go to the Champions Trophy in South Africa, he turned out for Vijay CC to get into match form. So why does the Ranji team comprising players thrown up by such a league not have a consistent record? It's a question that we have to ask. Well, the reasons would seem less technical, more mental. It is like South Africa's record in ICC tournaments. Tamil Nadu cricketers in general are known to crumble under pressure. The track record against bigger teams like Mumbai, Karnataka, Delhi, in general, they'll tell you their own tale. I think TN has made it to the most number of Ranji finals without winning it. So this is one record that we should never be proud of. So this is the mental aspect. The Chennai League, while it throws up a lot of good cricketers. It doesn't. I mean, at least in the till around 90s and the early 2000s, never created cricketers with strong mental fortitude. Things have certainly improved a lot in this decade. But when you talk of hard as nails cricketer in domestic cricket, you generally talk of Mumbai and Karnataka, even Delhi, but never TN. And another long shot reason could be that league cricket rivalry in Chennai is so strong that players selected from rival teams have been rumored to carry it into the Ranji team. I don't know whether it is still happening. It certainly happened in the 90s era. But don't ask me for those names because that would be unfair. But it certainly happened in the 90s, 80s because they carried their personal rivalries from their league cricket into the, even though they were part of the same Ranji Trophy team, they carried it into the team. So that didn't help the Tamil Nadu Ranji team in any manner. So that was the case then. Perhaps it has changed now.
At least the team composition seems to be a lot more diverse compared to the earlier teams. What do you think, Raghav?
Diverse in terms of different corporates being represented?
You also have some players coming through from outside Chennai to begin with, and also it doesn't seem to be from the same clubs. At least that's my impression. How much of, I don't know, how much of the leagues are getting covered now? Is it, I'm not sure if you have a benchmark, but for instance, in the 90s and 2000s, you get pretty much the whole league covered every day. I don't know how intense it is now.
In terms of daily reports, we don't cover. We don't actually go to the ground regularly. We do go to the grounds now and then, but we don't do it from the starting of the league. So that's because there are so many other things. There's no space to cover it, but we carry all the scores religiously. We do that every from the 6th division to the 1st division. Every score is carried in full in terms of the brief scores that we carry. But I don't think match reports we have kind of reduced. I think nobody does it anymore, match reports. And Mahesh, you made a good point about hyping up a lot of these promising talents. That does happen, and that's something even the association is aware of, because I've heard from people there that they also come and tell you guys start writing about someone and suddenly their collar goes up a bit. So that there is a flip side to that kind of coverage also, that religious coverage that we do. There is a flip side to it as well.
And one more point, actually this came up in the pod that we did with Clayton, that Sydney did with Clayton. For instance, he was talking about, who's that kid who scored 1,000 runs? Danwade, right? So he was saying that his coach had instructed him to kind of say no to the allowance that he was getting, because that will make him sort of complacent and he needs to find the hunger to succeed or something like that. As an extension of that point, and it's a sort of an email discussion that Sidvi and I had a while earlier about Bombay cricket as well, and what makes Bombay cricket so special. From a sort of a top-down model, if you have to ideally structure a successful Ranji Trophy team or a state-level team, Chennai seems to have all the foundations, right? It has a vibrant sort of league cricket, and it has a fairly well-paid, cricketers are well taken care of. They make adequate money just playing, division cricket. All that should ideally lead to a more secure sort of cricketer, trying to push himself to the peak of his abilities without having to worry about how to feed himself and stuff like that. Whereas that somehow seems to hit a sort of a ceiling. Whereas take the case of Bombay, which of course operates at a different scale. It has a different level of supply, and it has a history of a cricketing ecosystem which keeps paying dividends as well. But do you find the fact that it's a fairly secure system also to be a hindrance to kind of pushing themselves to the limits?
I personally subscribe to that theory, Mahesh, because Tamil Nadu cricketers generally tend to get satisfied that easily. Because historically, if you looked at Tamil Nadu players who had made it to Indian team and after having been rejected, how many of them have actually come back to the Indian team? If you look at them, except for, it has happened now. Dinesh Karthik and Ravichandran Ashwin are good examples who have bucked the system. But in general, most of the cricketers who have been dumped. It started with T. Srinivasan, T. A. Shekhar, even Srikanth. He made a small comeback, but he couldn't sustain himself. And V.B. Chandrasekhar is another classic example. Though his story has now gotten into tragic circumstances, a lot of people, when they talk of his tragic story, also point to the fact that he was not mentally strong. He gave up pretty easily. He got dropped after 5 or 6 ODIs. He never actually managed to find the form for himself, even in this domestic circuit. He plateaued after that. He gave up quite easily, and even all his cricketing ventures outside of, after his retirement were also very, very, very not focused, and pointed to a fact that he was not mentally there. And in general, that is something you also see in a lot of, you also got to see in a lot of other cricketers. And it also, that actually points to the fact that, to the suggestion that you are making, Mahesh, in the sense, Tamil Nadu cricket, Chennai Cricket League doesn't create cricketers with strong mental faculties, and it is. It's an area that we shouldn't be getting into. We may be getting into sociological areas where you generally tend to ask questions of the mental caliber of Tamil Nadu sports persons as such, for which we
No,
may
my
not
question
have
is
the
only about
answer.
my question is only related to the hunger. Does it make them
Yeah,
capable? There's enough
if
money
you
to be
go by
made.
the results that we have on our hands, based on the results that we see on cricketing grounds, they don't seem to have the hunger because they tend to get satisfied. And the thing that is touted as one of the success, a good, well-paying job right at the start, may ironically may be one of the reasons for that lack of hunger. You can only guess it. It will obviously differ from individual to individual, but from outside, we can only give a stereotypical reaction because we can only use a broad brush from outside.
But at least the point that you made about Tamil Nadu cricketer not really making a comeback, actually that lasted till pretty much this IPL generation, right? Where there is
Exactly.
enough
I
motivation.
don't. Exactly. After Dinesh Karthik is one who has sustained himself for long. Even when he was thrown out, all through he managed to keep himself fit and he remained focused. Ashwin is
Ramesh
mentally
lost his
strong.
way.
So
Ramesh lost his way.
yes,
Sriram never came back. Sharath did not even make it, right? He played for both Presidents
yeah,
11 and that's about it.
he played for India A, I guess. So he never got an opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
So Raman, W. Raman, you can take Bharat Arun, you can take Tirukumaran, you can
Raman
any
at
number
least
of
made a
players.
comeback and he was still, he was still a very
No,
prolific
no,
scorer
he
in
was
Ranji Trophy.
I would say he was a very good talent that got lost because of his lack of focus. Lack of focus in the sense not mentally strong.
No, but what I meant to say is that let's say he made it to the team in the 90, but again he came back in 93, 94, probably he played in 96 as well, right? I'm just saying that he still kept on scoring in Ranji Trophy. But with Ramesh, for instance, after his first shot at India,
Exactly.
I think even his Ranji Trophy exploits started coming off.
See, that is precisely where the problem lies. Once you get dropped from the national team, most of them don't go back to the domestic because they think that there's kind of infra dig for them. By and large, there are honorable exceptions, but by and large, that seems to be the case. At least the bulk of the sample size that we have on our hands suggests that.
Fair enough. Deepak, how much of the league rivalry are you into? Do you understand the local league politics dynamics?
Right now, there is no league rivalry because it's just two teams. It's just India Cements and Kempers. The other teams just fight amongst each other to lose to one of these Vijay CC or Jolly Rovers in the semis. So the rivalry is only between India Cements and Kemplas. The other teams are just making up the numbers. Yeah, MRF does well now and then, but otherwise, I wouldn't say the league. The thing is, the league structure is suited for a lot of very batting friendly. You don't get fast bowlers out of the league structure, and it's difficult to get good fast bowlers from this structure because you play through June, July, August, September, and in Chennai the weather is just too harsh to play day in and day out with 2 day gaps in between or 3 day gaps in between. It's just too much. I think that's where I think Tamil Nadu is always found wanting. We don't have a quality fast bowler, and you have to feel sorry for someone like Balaji who toiled for Tamil Nadu for about 15 years until as recently as 2014, 15, I think. So the league structure, I don't know what can be done, but I don't think it's as healthy as it is being touted to be. And I tend to agree with Bala sir. I don't think the cricketers will agree, but there is a sense of complacency because all of them have most of the top cricketers have secured jobs with these corporates. Maybe the up and coming they don't have, but even now you have like new corporates coming in. Like there is AGS has a couple of teams. I think the Kalpati group has a couple of teams. I know a couple of cricketers who have contracts. They say they play cricket till about 30, 35 in the league stages, the league first division, and after that they have to go and report to work. And even the other thing is whether they have enough time to practice because they do have to go to their jobs. So I don't know about that. Whether it's the most healthiest way to move up the ladder, because the matches get over by the second or third day after one innings is done by around 12 o'clock. By lunchtime, the match is called off more often than not. They don't push for outright victories. There is no incentive to do that unless and until you are coming close to the qualification stages. Or even just play till 4 o'clock and see what a fast bowler can do in an afternoon session with a new ball, even if it's a new ball. So that is not there because it's just too difficult on them to sustain this over 2-3 months.
Yeah, good
But
point.
Deepak, tell me, this is interesting because some of it, I mean, sitting in Chennai, and some of it, this is a bit of a news to me. Why is it this not in the media so much? I mean, this kind of analysis of the Chennai league, why is it not in the papers or in the internet? Why is it not there?
I'm at loss for answer, but I do think we get now and then every time when there is a dip in Tamil Nadu's, when we do a post-mortem analysis of Tamil Nadu's Ranji season, you will get that. And then Tamil Nadu will go to the quarters and semis, and we think that everything is all good, hunky-dory and everything. And then it just dies down. I think we need to do a in-depth analysis. And another thing is people don't come on record much on these things. You will get a lot of these off the record conversations. You will get all these info. But when it comes to on the record, I don't think they want to take the chance of, upsetting the powers that be.
Yeah, that is one of the worst kept secrets of Tamil Nadu cricket because upsetting the local officials is very tough. That's a separate story, and Mahesh will need a special podcast for that.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, my next question is going to be a bit of a two-part question. I mean, I can understand the significance of Ranji Trophy over the years, and especially for Tamil Nadu, where the title run has been so barren, why people still, cling on to that hope for so long. And also because historically, Tamil Nadu has had very little representation in Indian cricket as well, in terms of cricketers going on and playing for India for a long time. But now you can say that the situation has changed a little bit. There's Ashwin, who's one of India's greatest cricketers. There was Vijay for a while, who probably would end up as Tamil Nadu's greatest sort of cricketer who played for India. Batsman, I would say, not cricketer, sorry. Dinesh Karthik is always sort of waiting in the wings. Vijay Shankar made it. So there's that aspect of it. And there's also the IPL giant called CSK, which is a wildly successful franchise, which is connected immensely well with the local population as well. So in this sort of a climate, where first of all, Ranji Trophy itself is kind of lurking in the background, and Tamil Nadu has more sort of fancy things to look at in terms of international cricket as well as CSK. What is it that keeps you hooked on to Tamil Nadu in Ranji Trophy? One, as a journalist, you can also tell me what is it that keeps some of the fans hooked on to still. You have some sense of why it still matters.
See, I can't speak for the fans because I really don't know whether hardcore fans still stick to Tamil Nadu. Ranji follow Ranji team's fortunes. I don't know because I'm not saying it is not there. All I'm saying is I don't know. I mean, at a personal level, I think despite the emergence of IPL, where I personally do support the CSK, I think Ranji Trophy is the true regional flavor. As a team, the Ranji team carries the players from the local. They have the local origin. There is certain we were talking about tribalism. There is an agreeable tribalism attached to this fact. To follow the fortunes of sports persons who hail from the same land as yours is a special feeling. Also, to be fair, the players, I don't agree to the fact that when you said that Ranji Trophy doesn't enjoy that much status among the players, I still feel the players attach a lot of importance to the tournament and it enjoys a special social cachet in their scheme of things. Even though the format is being tampered with too regularly, for my own liking, it is too tampered with too regularly. I think Ranji Trophy performance still count for national test selection, and the players still maintain tests are more important. So there is a lot of importance for Ranji Trophy as in that sense, and players attach a lot of importance to it. And these days, it is also easy to follow the domestic calendar because you have Mushtaq Ali, you have Vijay Hazare. They are all well charted out. So you know what kind of players are going to. The kind of players I can certainly speak for Tamil Nadu. Who are the players who are going to turn out for this team, the Mushtaq Ali team, for the Vijay Hazare team, and as well as for the Ranji, because it's well charted out. This was certainly not the case 4 or 5 years back because there was too much of mix and match. So it is very clear, well laid out. So it is easy for me as a individual fan to follow. And as a journalist, it's also easy to write about Ranji Trophy exploits because both players take it as important and it also counts for national team selection. So in that sense, it is important to follow your team which has the local flavor. The IPL team, aside from the glamour and glitz, CSK enjoys a lot of local support. But the team as such does not comprise all the local talents. It's Chennai only in its name. Though in spirit we generally call. It is easy for our report. Even in our reports, it reflects Chennai spirit. But does it actually reflect Chennai spirit? I have my doubts.
Shots fired.
Okay.
So Deepak, what is your sense?
Yeah, I agree with what Bala said at that point because this is the proper regional pride is there. I think also I think there are enough fandom on Twitter from my personal experience on Twitter, and because there are a lot of coaching camps where there are a lot of young cricketers do follow Ranji Trophy because I know from my personal experience in coaching camps where you get these state cricketers, even they might have played only a couple of matches, but they do come do some clinics at most of these camps. That's how they also gain a certain amount of currency amongst the young parents as well to have a Ranji Trophy cricketer. So I think that's a nice system where there is a certain interest that's always running for Ranji Trophy and for domestic cricket. And even when you have Ranji Trophy matches in Chennai, there are good crowds there are a lot of people who come there. And it's not just the old people. There are young people who come there, like young cricketers from the coaching camps who come there and watch these matches. So, yeah, there is that regional thing. Pride is there, I think. That sustains the following here.
And just to add, it is good that TNC is taking the Ranji Trophy matches away from the regular center Chennai to places like Dindigul, Coimbatore, Tirunelveli, thanks to TNPL, where a lot of new cricket following has come up. They are also trying to tap into it and try to take that into the Ranji fold, which is a good thing. Generally you can't credit good things to Tamil Nadu cricket officials, but this is one thing they have done better because the first match, I think this season is going to happen in Dindigul, which is a good thing. It has been happening for a lot last couple of seasons, but this is good. They are sustaining it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That the TNPL started it off to an extent. I think they played matches in Tirunelveli even in the mid 90s, I believe.
They did, but they didn't sustain it. It was not a sustained thing.
Yeah, true. But again, the Dindigul, the venue is still a bit far from Dindigul. So one good thing is it's situated inside the college, so you will have students who want to bunk classes and still come and watch first class cricket because there are a lot of big names. Somehow, so if more often than not, you'll have some of the big Indian cricketers playing. That's there. But Coimbatore as a venue, I think they will be ready by this year, and probably from next year we'll have matches in Coimbatore. I think Coimbatore will be much more because I think the college is also within the city limits or something like that. So I think that should be a better venue than Dindigul. And Dindigul, the ground is beautiful. It's very picturesque and everything.
Just to add a personal anecdote here, because I asked you about whether you have a sense if Ranji Trophy is still relevant for this generation of fans. I spoke with my nephew who's 10 years old after the last Ranji season. I happened to go to Chennai immediately after that. So I asked him, and he said yes, he followed, and he followed that Karnataka Saurashtra match very keenly with that Pujara controversy, and he also followed the Vidarbha teams, basically the semi-final and final, and he kind of rattled out all the names, all the records. Then I asked him, "Did you follow Tamil Nadu?" He said, "Mahesh, is Tamil Nadu still playing Ranji Trophy?" So essentially, he missed out the first few rounds, the first rounds, and he only followed the knockouts.
That's interesting.
So there is interest in Ranji Trophy, but I'm not sure if there's interest in Tamil Nadu part of the Ranji Trophy. It'll help if they make it to the knockout.
Yeah, no, that is one thing. I don't think the group games were covered live as well, I think, last year. I think the Punjab game was the first game of Tamil Nadu that was shown live on TV, and by then Tamil Nadu's season was all done and dusted, I think. The Shubman Gill got a beautiful double century in that match. That was shown live.
Yeah, I remember. I don't get live here, but I remember watching the highlights on the BCCI website.
Yeah, I think if they can get a couple of matches live on Hotstar as well, that'd be really good for first class cricket in general.
True, and if they can upload the highlights on YouTube, it will make life a lot easier.
They
website
do.
Is a pain.
Yeah, but Hotstar does have highlight packages immediately after sessions, I think.
Okay, just taking off a tangent on that, we did speak about Tamil Nadu representation in the Indian team has gone up considerably compared to the earlier era. Two questions on that. One, usually it's always a sign of the fact that the Ranji Trophy team is doing well, right? For instance, when Karnataka was doing very well in Ranji Trophy in the mid 90s, there was a lot of Karnataka representation in the Indian team, and for instance, Bala spoke about Venkatramana or VB. So there was a season when Tamil Nadu won and a bunch of Tamil Nadu players went on to represent India. But this phase of Tamil Nadu representation in India hasn't coincided with some sort of a great performance in Ranji Trophy for Tamil Nadu. Balaji, of course, came on the back of a great run, and we also reached the finals twice back to back in those seasons. But when it comes to Ashwin, Vijay, Dinesh Karthik, Vijay Shankar, this whole batch, they seem to have gone primarily on individual performance and nothing to do with the team performance. That's one thing. And the other thing is what explains this change that we see a lot better representation of Tamil Nadu players in Indian team now. Is it really that we are in a good phase where we produce a bunch of really impressive cricketers, or we think the rising influence of Srinivasan in Indian cricket had something to do with it?
I have just one point to add to what Mahesh said. I think that story of a team doing well and getting representation flipped around the late 2000, I think. You can correct me if I'm wrong, because I remember distinctly when Rajasthan won back-to-back titles, I don't think none of those players actually went on to play for India. They didn't even get called up to be part of the 15. It's like someone like a Robin Bist or a Vinith Saxena, I think a couple of other cricketers. So I think Indian cricket, the way we select teams also, I think have changed a bit, I guess. So I don't know whether, because we don't have a lot of Vidarbha cricketers as well right now in the Indian team, apart from Umesh.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
And just to add to that, in general, just to add to the point that you suggested, Mahesh, good players. You said that we seem to have a bunch of good players, and that has resulted in a good Ranji team. That's an old malaise. Good players don't necessarily combine to make a good team. That's happened in the international level too, and that is happening in Tamil Nadu too. But it is a fact that selectors have become much more nuanced these days, because probably they have a lot to answer or they are being questioned. They really look into a lot of other things. They just don't go by mere numbers. They go beyond numbers. They take pains to watch, or they have scouts who suggest what is happening, or in terms of cricketing knowledge, it is much more seep now. A lot of people understand those things. So that's why a lot of things that Deepak was suggesting, that Rajasthan, despite having won the Ranji Trophy, did not have any other player representing them in the Indian squad, because people would have seen it. I don't think any player would have been disappointed in not having made to the national team. I mean, a genuine case. At an individual level, a lot of players may harbor such notions, but there is no. I mean, look at the Indian scenario. You can't really say that one player has been done in by the selectors. One or two issues will always be there, because there is only 14 member squad. So it is a difficult task. But by and large, the selectorial whims have come down, because that was certainly the case in the 80s and then better part of the early 90s. After that, it has changed a lot. Because I told you, 70s, we just had a single representative from Tamil Nadu, that to Bharat Reddy. He made it to the national team only because there was a problem with Kirmani. Otherwise, you would not have had a single debutant from Tamil Nadu in the entirety of 70s. So you don't have that kind of a situation now. So you can't complain from Tamil Nadu, because growing up, I heard a lot of stories that Tamil Nadu was done in by the Mumbai Mafia or the Delhi Devils. These were the precise expressions used by some of the elder people in places like Triplicane. I mean, you can very well imagine those people, the knowledgeable Chennai crowd. I mean, there was, though slightly exaggerated, there was certainly a room for that kind of a criticism. Now you don't have that.
Yeah, also the way we select teams, the under 19 level, BCCI conducts a lot of tournament at under 19, under 17, under 16 level. So the whole pipeline has changed, I think. But first class cricket is still valuable because it does test players' skill over 4 days and different conditions and how they cope. More importantly, the one place where Ranji Trophy is actually makes a difference is how they cope with travel, because they go to a lot of these small centers which don't have direct airports. So you have to go to a main city and then you have to take another flight to another city, and there are just 3 or 4 days between matches. So I think a player actually earns his keep in Ranji Trophy right now. If he performs really well throughout the season, then he's actually done really well, because the travel is just too much.
Especially with the increase in teams since the last edition. It's going to be...
Yes. And remember a couple of years back, they had this weird concept of a neutral venue where Tamil Nadu and Bengal play in some other part of the country. And it was just a pain for these teams, actually. Because every time they don't come to their home base and they have to stay out of home for about 4 months throughout the league stages. And incidentally, we did well that year because we played in very helpful seeming conditions and our fast bowlers did really well there.
And I was a fan of that system, but somehow the players didn't like it. I mean, that's a different story.
There's nothing somehow about it, Bala. It is very obvious why they didn't like it.
But Deepak said, we did well. In spite of that, Tamil Nadu was one of the teams that was against this neutral venue concept.
That explains it all. We prefer comfort.
I think it is a very unhealthy concept because there are no people. There are just monkeys and crows in the ground. There are no people coming to watch first class.
That makes sense. That makes sense. From a crowd perspective, if there is no local team, why would anyone come? That's understandable. That's fair point.
I think that sucks the energy out of the another problem with that concept also was the matches were not being covered by the local reporters there because they don't have a interest for covering these matches. So
fair point.
Selectors also felt very felt strongly about that because they're not getting match reports about these because there are only 5 selectors. They can't go to every venue, and selectors also felt that they're not getting every information from every ground. If there's a player that they want to keep an eye out for, they also rely a lot on the match reports and the couple of newspapers who send reporters out to cover matches. So they also depend on that, and I didn't think that worked well with them as well. Because I remember a selector asking me when I was covering one of those matches, he was asking us to write more match reports, just daily reports. because now the way we cover cricket also has changed. They want more feature-ish reports. But the selector, that's when I also realized I got a first-hand information from the selector where they said we need to go back to a home and away rule, and you need to we depend a lot on the medias also to find out what's happening at each and every venue, because there are no local reporters if there is two unknown teams playing there.
It's an incredible point.
Good point.
Actually.
Good point.
The fact that we don't even, like, in the sense when you talk about neutral venue, we think so much about the merits and demerits of that as it is. But the whole ecosystem kind of crumbles because of one sort of jigsaw puzzle being moved out of its place. It's quite an incredible point, and like I didn't appreciate.
Yeah, very good perspective. Because I didn't realize it when he said I supported it. I didn't have this information. This is well put, Deepak.
Excellent. Okay, moving on to a very personal segment, which is all what we always tend to do in 81 All Out is to talk about your own memories and favorite sort of picks. So we'll pick our favorite games and favorite batting performances and favorite bowling performances. 2 or 3, whatever you can pick. Bala, you already picked one match, which is quite tragic. Perhaps you can pick some happy ones.
1 minute. Let me think. This is a match that involves Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. In fact, I have only hazy memories of it because one of the early days of my cricketing reporting coverage days. This happened in December 1994. My memory is, as I said, it's very bare. But the last day was very special. In the sense, Tamil Nadu was set a target of 145 in just 12 overs to win against Karnataka bowling attack that comprised Kumble, David Johnson, Doda Ganesh, Sunil Joshi. So TN had taken a 180-run lead in the first innings, and this was a Tamil Nadu team led by VB Chandrasekhar. And this was one of the crucial matches that we had to win. So VB was very clear that we had to go for that win on that last day. So with just 12 overs to be bowled on the last day and 145 runs to get, VB and Robin Singh opened the innings. They provided a great launching pad as they smashed both Johnson and Kumble opened the bowling. They smashed both Johnson and Kumble in the first 2 overs, and they scored around 25 in the first 2 overs. But TN lost, in the third over, TN lost Chandrasekhar and Mahesh of successive balls to Johnson. So, but Robin Singh, it was his day. He just kept going. He repeatedly smote Kumble out of the ground. He was very harsh on Kumble. Kumble just, it was very difficult because since the batsman was going for everything, it was very difficult to bowl to any particular plan. And those days, T20 was not a great thing, and even ODI was just getting started. It was early 1990s. Kumble considered, I think in 5 overs, he considered over 50 runs, possibly the only time in his cricketing career. But the chase actually didn't end in any great victory for Tamil Nadu because Robin Singh scored an unbeaten half a century, but we couldn't manage to pull off those 145 runs in the 12 overs. But the way we kept going, it was heroic. It was great fun to watch because it was accelerating. Because in those days, we were not used to seeing those kind of batting. It was certainly worth watching, and it was good as long as it lasted. It's just that Tamil Nadu couldn't win. It ended in a draw, but it was an important important message that Tamil Nadu was trying to convey to its ranks. But unfortunately, it didn't end in a win. But it was great fun.
Excellent. Deepak?
I have a very interesting Tamil Nadu-Bombay match. It was a semi-final, and this was a match that was played in Wankhede in 2012. I was not covering that match. I was just there working for the Hindustan Times in Bombay at the time. And it was, we hadn't been in a final for quite some time, I believe. I think since the 2003 last Mumbai defeat, 4 was the last defeat, right? So I don't think we made a final of the Ranji Trophy ever since then. So it was a very interesting match. It was a knock by R. Prasanna, who's probably not the most flamboyant left-handers that you're going to be finding out on domestic cricket. But it was a very tricky situation. I think we were about 130 odd for 5 or 6 on the first day. And Prasanna scored a beautiful century. And you know about how the Bombay and the Cardo's cricket and all those things. So to see a Tamil Nadu cricketer do that to Bombay, in Bombay was brilliant. I think he and Yo Mahesh had a huge partnership and we made about 320 runs or 310, something like that. And we bowled out Bombay for about half of it, like 160 or 150, and we took the crucial first innings lead in that match. And we went on to go for the final after a long time. And eventually we lost to Rajasthan in that final on a very placid Chepauk wicket. But that was a great innings that I saw from in Bombay. And to do that to Bombay in Bombay was very special.
Yes, were you there?
I was there. I was watching the match. I was not covering the match. Another colleague of mine was covering. I had covered the previous Tamil Nadu Maharashtra quarterfinals, and they came to Bombay the next week. I was there to just watch the match during the morning before I go to office. So to see them do that was really special.
Wow, I think it's like a lifetime achievement to see Tamil Nadu defeat Bombay in a knockout and go on to final. I think you should be proud of that for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
that too in Wankhede.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah. And you think Tamil Nadu playing at home against Rajasthan will win the Ranji Trophy final, and you have Akash Chopra and another, I don't know who else, got a big 100 and they made about 600 runs in the final on a placid, very slow, flat wicket in Chennai.
That was a horrible wicket, man. That was a horrible.
I didn't cover that match, but I've heard horror tales about that wicket.
I don't think you can go on a sequence of happy memories with Tamil Nadu. There's one and then like a heartbreak comes soon after. Or probably more than one.
Yeah, it's like classic. One season is good, another season will be piss poor mostly. It will followed by a very bad run in the next season itself. I think next season they had a huge issue with, I think VP was the coach for the following season. And he quit midway with some issue with Dinesh or something, I think. That was the following season, I think.
Okay, let's finish it off with, of course, with any other podcast, we will finish it off with this segment where we talk about our favorite sort of innings or favorite matches and memories. But with Tamil Nadu, we cannot stop there, right? The best part about Tamil Nadu cricket is the urban legends and the insider stories. So I'm going to ask the two of you. You would have had a flood of stories that has come your way. To pick some of the best ones that you've heard, which you know for sure is absolutely not true, but it somehow finds momentum and keeps traveling around.
The one I'm going to talk about is certainly true. I mean, it's a insider story, but it is pretty true. This obviously involves Venkat Ragav, one of the most colorful Tamil Nadu cricket characters, and it also involves a fast bowler by name B. Kalyana Sundaram. He played in the 70s. I mean, Kalyana Sundaram was certainly not known much for his batting, but he once had a bet with Venkatraman that he would score 25 in a Ranji match, and this was in the season of 1976-77. And in one of those matches, he batted with a lot of grit and determination, and he managed to reach 24. But I don't recall which team, but he managed to reach 21. But when he reached 24, because Venkatraman had told him that he would, if he scored 25, he'll grant him some amount as a bet, some kind of a bet. So when he reached 24, Venkat promptly declared the innings closed, and there was a huge laughter in the dressing room, apparently. But the story doesn't end there. What happened is, later in the same year, playing against Andhra, it was Bharat Reddy and Kalyana Sundaram in a well-known partnership for 9th wicket. And Kalyana Sundaram again batted adequately, and he managed to pass 25. This time, Venkat was much more large-hearted. He walked up to Kali, that's how Kalyana Sundaram was called, and handed him rupees 25, the amount that he had promised earlier if Kali had scored 25. So that also showed Venkat's character of keeping to his word. And the earlier incident also showed the funny side of Venkat's character. And another incident, this is slightly agonizing. This involves the fast bowler J. Gokulakrishnan that we talked about when we talked of Sachin's innings. when Gokula Krishnan came into Tamil Nadu team, he had played in under 17, under 19, under 23, as well as Buchi Babu. This was his debut match against Hyderabad. And in his debut spell, when Azhar was batting, Gokul was called for chucking by umpire A.V. Jayaprakash. The thing is, Gokul had never been warned till that date in any form of cricket, let alone he had never been warned, let alone been called. In the leagues, during the Chennai league, he had taken 55 wickets the earlier season, and in that season itself, he was pretty much in good form. And there was certainly a talk of him being a long shot prospect for Indian team because he was rated very highly by all the people who had seen him. But this particular call for chucking set his career back by 2 years, and it was a huge heartbreak for him because he almost went to the extent of quitting because he felt this call was not wrong because then I remember Dennis Lilly famously said, "If Gokul is chucking, then I chucked all my life." But Gokula Krishnan managed to come out of that particular low point for him. Later, he played for Tamil Nadu. He also turned out profitably for Goa, and when he was playing for Goa, he was against in the fringes of national reckoning. But what happened was then again he was laid low by injury, so his career ended then and there. And I had another small incident. This involved my man Venkatramana. He is from Madurai. So as I say, he is from provincial Madurai, and English is not our strong suit. So immediately after Tamil Nadu defeated Railways in the 1987-88 finals, Venkatramana was called for an interview in Doordarshan. Though it was done by DD Chennai, it was an interview in English. So in this interview, Venkatramana was asked, "Where do you go from here?" This question was asked in a metaphorical sense, hoping that you would say that a place in the Indian team was his aim. But no sooner had the interviewer had asked, "Where do you go from here?" Our Ravana deadpanned to Madurai. He had taken it very literally. So the interview ended then and there itself. So that's one of the funny stories that I can recall.
Very nice. What about you, Deepak? I'm sure you'll have more recent stories to tell.
No, not really. Actually, I don't have a lot. I haven't come across. Here and there I've heard from a couple of my seniors in the office, but I don't have urban legends. But I have a funny incident that I remember. I was covering a match at Chepauk, and you know how there's always a bunch of old people sitting there discussing cricket. So they were just talking about some random player, and they were very animatedly, cursing Ajit Wadekar for some odd reason. I think this was some player from the 70s or 80s, I don't know, early mid 70s, and they were calling him Wadekar or Alk cricket Ravana, India Kadina, something like that. And I didn't know anything about who they're talking about the local cricketer was, and I thought maybe he played a couple of first-class matches or he was unfairly not selected for the Indian team. And then I asked someone else in that gang, and I asked about who this cricketer was, and that guy flippantly told me that those guys are simply making up stories about some guy. That guy was not even good enough to be playing regular league cricket. And I thought that okay, there was some genuine South, the whole North Bombay Mafia, as Bala said. I think there was. I thought someone was, maybe it was a good story. Also, I thought maybe I should find out more and probably dig deep and see about some old Tamil Nadu cricketer who missed out playing for India. And I thought ideas were running in my mind for a story for my paper the next day, and it turned out to be a dud. So that's my not an urban legend, but yeah, some interesting tidbit from Tamil Nadu cricket and the usual knowledgeable crowd gang that gathers up for Ranji Trophy matches.
I mean, most of my stories are from like first division or even from Ranji Trophy, which I absolutely cannot share. Especially on a podcast, we can probably share it personally. But there's one thing which I remember, probably Bala can verify if this is true. Everybody knows the famous tea quote when he went to Australia, right? Go tell Lily that tea is here, which was one of them, which is a fairly well-known one. The other one that I've heard from some of the division cricketers is that on that tour, I think Sunny gets out and comes back to the dressing room, and T goes and tells him that you shouldn't have played like that. I'll show you how to play, and he corrects his technique or something to that extent. And I don't think it was in the dressing room, probably in the nets, where he went on to tell Sunny what to do. And apparently that was the end of his career or something to that extent. Obviously, I'm reasonably sure it's not true, but it was quite a funny story.
Yeah, but it was one of the popular stories in Chennai circles. But T. Srinivasan later, when Suresh Menon wrote a story on him, said that he didn't say anything of that sort. It was misconstrued in the media, and it was not the way that it has been portrayed. He didn't go to Gavaskar and say that you should not be playing this way. It was general chat, and he was suggesting something to Gavaskar. It was a regular chat between any two cricketers that can happen. It was not the kind of a thing that that suggested that T from a position of authority that telling Gavaskar that you should play like this or play like that. It wasn't that kind of a situation. But somehow these stories, as you say, get their own momentum and get their own shades and become altogether a different story, creating a totally different picture of T. Srinivasan. And it is easy to create such picture for T. Srinivasan, especially considering that he had that the famous quote of Dennis Lilly.
Yeah. But others are absolutely, I can't share it in a public forum at all. There are some hilarious ones about Sri.
Yeah, hilarious one, and a lot of things involve Venkat Ragavan and his very colorful language.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's round it off with picking our all-time Tamil Nadu 11 if we have to. Let's say we are the three selectors. Bala.
Yeah, see, we'll start with the openers. And Tamil Nadu openers, I'll not pick Srikanth. I'll pick M. Vijay and T. Srinivasan in my in my 11. Because Vijay has certainly a better record than Srikanth, and certainly in terms, I think we are talking about in terms of Ranji team, which is kind of a test team. So I'll go with Vijay and Srinivasan, who were certainly better openers, both in terms of technique, both in terms of mental fortitude and their general approach. They were certainly better than Srikanth in my book. Perhaps you may have a differing view, Mahesh. Srikanth.
No, I'm happy to drop Srikanth, but I'm wondering where to pick Mukund.
I guess Mukund would have to sit out because he does. Being an opener, you have only two slots, and they get Vijay and Srinivasan get picked, and Mukund, though might be slightly sentimentally favorite, he has to sit out because there is no place for him.
Deepak, do you have
because my one down player is a very sentimental favorite, Sharath. Because I wanted to play him because he didn't get a chance to play in the national colors, so I kind of showed him into this TN 11 purely for sentimental reasons. And he certainly
for me.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not going to object to that, but let's take the view of Deepak, who's followed quite a bit of Mukund's career.
No, yeah, I will definitely pick Vijay and Abhinav as the openers. Abhinav, I think, is the proper domestic legend. He's got more than 8,000, 9,000 runs, I think. And he's had some big daddy hundreds as well, like 200s and a triple hundred. I think he had one triple hundred as well. I'm not sure, but yes, close to 9,000 runs in first class cricket. So I think it would be very unfair to. It would be unfair.
I can't dispute that fact. Yeah.
And I would have gone with Abhinav and Vijay as well, but of course it would be terribly unfair to T.
Oh. If you ask any old timer, which I am, T. Srinivasan's technique was near perfect. And a lot of stories, urban legend stories that we just discussed. A lot of stories in local cricket is also there, and he was a very good back foot player, and he was never afraid of playing fast bowling. He had very good hook shot and a pull shot, which was not something you associate with Tamil Nadu cricketers.
But the last time I heard about a Tamil Nadu cricketer's rasping pull and hook was V.B. Chandrasekhar's innings in the Ranji Trophy, and I'm yet to recover from the shock of watching that on YouTube.
Yeah, I know. I saw your tweet also. That's a different story. We'll have it for some other day. Now that he has recently passed away, let's not get into V.B. Chandrasekhar's story.
I hope there's no video records of T's back foot play. so that I want to believe in this legend.
Yeah, some stories better remain legends.
Okay, but I'm sure we can find a slot in the middle order for one of them. Let's move on. So, Sharath, do you have any objections, Deepak? I have no objections. Sharath straight away comes in.
Yeah, no objections at all. He was very unlucky not to play for India, I guess.
For 2 down,
Badri.
I will go with Badri. Oh,
Yeah, Badri was my pick as well there in the middle order.
his first innings in Test cricket was terrific against Stein. The innings in
Yes.
Nagpur. That was a terrific knock. He deserved a longer shot, and his debut was also delayed by the fact that you had a terrific middle order before that, because you had Indian middle order, Dravid, Sachin, Lakshman. How do you get into a team that boasts of Sachin, Lakshman, and Dravid? So it was very difficult for Badri. So he had to come in only late. I mean, he made his debut in 2010, right?
Yeah, that was his
debut. So by then he could have been given a longer run in the national colours, but he was one of those unfortunate guys. So Badri certainly for me as number 4 in Tamil Nadu colours.
I think Badri, and when Yuvraj and Kev played the number of test matches and Suresh Raina did, I think Badri definitely deserved to have made test debut even earlier than.
Correct.
And did Badri get a 50 in the Blackpool test against South Africa? On that?
Yeah,
that's what
very first innings.
Yeah, brilliant knock.
And also, when he gets out, it was one of those soft dismissals with the Sachin dismissal or Vijay or the Tailenders, for instance. It was just supreme skills from Dale Steyn. Whereas for Badri, I mean, it was certainly swinging reverse and quite a sharp swing. But it was like he flicked quite well, but he couldn't keep it down. So in the sense that in a spell like that, to get out to a soft dismissal, especially after you've settled in, I was so disappointed with that.
That's a very nuanced this thing, but cut him some slack, man. He was playing his first test.
No, I'm cutting him some slack. My only point is when the odds are so stacked against you and the selectors are going to give you such a short rope, you have to take every possible opportunity and convert it.
I mean, the kind of mental blows that you would have taken in the previous spell, I mean, previous deliverers, that would have played some more. I mean, I'm just trying to, make out a case for him. So I might be totally wrong also. But I get it. I understand where you come from. I get it.
Number 5.
I'll go with Robin Singh. I'll go with Robin Singh. Because my wicketkeeper would be Dinesh Karthik. So Robin Singh, he has done a lot of, he has had a lot of good knocks at number 5. Even that knock against Bombay was at number 5. That was a terrific innings. And he also had a good way of batting with the tail. So Robin Singh for me would be at number 5.
Wouldn't that be one position too higher for him?
Because as I said, my wicketkeeper is equally a good bat, Dinesh Karthik.
Yeah, then I would play Karthik at 5. I mean, I'm just...
Yeah, you can swapping, that's it.
I will go with Hemang. Yeah, I'll go with Hemang at number 5.
Good pick. Yeah. Very good.
I think Hemang, for his time, he was one of the fittest cricketers in Indian cricket, definitely in Tamil Nadu cricket. And that I've heard recently also that he was one of the fittest and very good fielder as well. And obviously he can chip in with a good left arm spin as well. So I'll go with Hemang for number 5.
Because I also thought about Badani, but just for the sake of this composition, because Robin Singh also had better, Badani was also a good fielder, but Robin was a notch higher than Badani when it came to fielding. And he was also, in domestic cricket, he was a better bowler than Badani. So I went with Robin Singh.
Okay,
just for this composition.
That reminds me, where is Sriram?
He didn't figure in my scheme of things.
I mean, when you talked about Badani's bowling, I'm like, oh, what happened to Sriram?
See, we have only this many spots, so we have to fit in. And when you look at those records and other stuff, and the actual capability, so Robin Singh nudges in for me. It's a close call between Badani and Robin Singh, but certainly not between Robin Singh, Badani, and Sriram, because Sriram doesn't have the heft of record in this,
He had a
this kind of
tremendous
record.
first-class record. I mean, at least before his debut, he averaged nearly 16 Ranji Trophy.
Yeah,
I don't know what
but
he ended
after
up
that, he kind of after that, eventually when he ended, when you look at Robin Singh's career and Sriram's career, the numbers don't match. No, I mean, do they?
he averaged 153 in first-class cricket overall, which is not bad.
Yeah, but you also have to look at how he performed in crunch situations when the team needed it. Those things have to be factored in.
Anyway, I don't believe in that, but anyway, there's enough
Okay,
enough
right.
of a case to make for Robin Singh. Yes.
For number 6, I think Dinesh Karthik is an obvious wicketkeeper batsman at number 6.
That's a no-brainer. Yes, Dinesh Karthik as a wicketkeeper. Though I was slightly tempted to play Bharat Reddy purely for old time's sake, but
Sorry,
record doesn't match up.
2-1 overruled.
Yeah, I am. Even my pick is Dinesh Karthik, far better cricketer than Bharat Reddy. I'll certainly say.
And bowling.
I'll talk of spinners. I'll have 3 spinners in my team: Venkat, Ashwin, and VV Kumar. VV Kumar is an absolute legend, and he was very unlucky not to have had a longer run. So typical 60s, 70s problem. But otherwise, VV Kumar, Venkat, and Ashwin, they just walk into this lineup. Perhaps there is an outside case for Vasudevan because he had a wonderful record and he was our captain when we won the Ranji Trophy. But when you stack up those numbers with Venkat, Ashwin, and Kumar, Vasudevan is one notch slightly lower. So my pick these 3 spinners would be Venkat, Ashwin, and Kumar.
I totally agree. Talking of Kumar and urban legends, there was also my dad keeps telling me the story that that because he doesn't like to bat, and especially like to bat against fairly good fast bowlers, it's one of the reasons why he didn't want to get selected for India.
Yeah, because there was also an allegation that he walked away when he faced a bouncer during this England tour. That's one of the stories, but Kumar has denied it. But that's part of the urban legend, as you said. So it goes on. You never know.
Okay, so that leaves us with the impossible selection of 2 seamers.
L. Balaji and T.A. Shekhar.
T.A. Shekhar, yeah.
Though T.A. Shekhar, though I would want to have M.J. Gopalan.
How about Kalyan Sundaram, sir?
Kalyan Sundaram, yeah, Kali is good.
I heard he was very quick during his heydays.
He was
a very quick
He
bowler.
was certainly quick. He was very quick. But when you look at T.A. Shekhar was shade better than Kali.
Okay. I believe Kali had a hat-trick against Bombay in one of the semis of Ranji or final. I don't know. 70s.
Yeah, he had a hat-trick. He had a hat-trick. Yes.
That I've heard about it, yeah.
So I wanted
Balaji
to pick
is a
M.J.
lock-in.
Gopalan, but Balaji is a lock-in, but I wanted to pick Gopalan.
I hope T.A. Shekhar's contribution to Indian fast bowling after his first-class career has not tilted his selection.
As with MRF, as with Delhi
correct.
Daredevils.
Primarily MRF, I would
generally,
think,
yeah, he had an eye for talent. That's what people say. He was good in picking. But I have some genuine doubt about what exactly MRF has contributed in terms of Zach went there. How many players have really come out of MRF for Indian cricket? I want to have a check on that also. Somehow.
No, at that time it was the
another day
season,
we'll
right?
talk
Munaf went there, if I'm not wrong.
Munaf Srishant was there.
Srishan.
Srishant had a small stint. Tendulkar had a stint where he was told concentrate on your batting.
But I think Zach was the bigger success story, I think, from Pace Foundation.
Exactly.
Even Balaji owes a little bit to MRF, right?
He went there, did he?
I don't know. Maybe as a Tamil Nadu cricketer, he used to go there for sure. I don't know if he went there before that. But post his Tamil Nadu career, he certainly went there. I've seen him there. Him.
We'll have this MRF talk another day. That's not be fair talk also.
Fair enough. So Balaji and the last one, M.J. Gopalan, Kalyana Sundaram, Sadhavan.
T.A. Shekhar and Balaji. T.A. Shekhar and Balaji.
Good. So with that all-time best 11, can we beat the third best all-time 11 for Bombay?
This can take on any team. I think this will win. It's just an hypothetical situation. Just stick your neck and say something. And I like to have C. Ramaswamy as the manager come coach. Because he had also toured as manager for the Indian team when they toured West Indies in the 50s. So he would be a good fit for this team.
I think there's a balance. I think with Balaji, Shekhar, and if we play Robin, I think there's a fairly decent amount of seam bowling balance to this team, coupled with the three legendary spinners. So I think the bowling is sorted there, which is where Tamil Nadu usually falters.
And Venkat would be my captain, by the way.
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer.
But if Venkat is the captain, he may not give enough overs to Ashwin.
I don't know.
Ashwin may perhaps try left-arm bowling because that's the only slot that's missing in this team.
True. So between Ashwin and Venkat, who will take the tag of this knowledgeable Chennai cricketer? You know, Suresh Menon often writes about how Venkat is the only Indian cricketer to go to Mohenjo-daro and even.
But my recency bias would settle with Ashwin, even though my emotional favorite is Venkat. Recency bias points to Ashwin because he is more clued in with modern ways. He's much more street smart than Venkat. And he understands he can get well past this North Indian gang. He can get past where Venkat found it difficult to get past those North Indian guys. He was a victim. Where Ashwin, you can't say he's a victim, though sometimes he feels he's been slightly done on, but you can't exactly say he's a victim. Whereas for Venkat, you can use the word victim. So Ashwin is much more street smart. So knowledgeable Chennai cricketer would be, in my book, would be Ashwin.
Yeah, I think Ashwin as well. And I've had good chats with Ashwin in recent times as well. So there's a bias for me there also.
Okay, great job picking the team. Now to matters more serious. What are your hopes for the season?
I mean, I think it looks tough. I mean, the team is good, but we are in a very difficult pool. I mean, we are drawn on alongside. I think we have Himachal, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Mumbai, Railways, Baroda, and Saurashtra. So only 5 teams out of the 18 teams from Group A and B, they make it to the quarters. So it looks tough. We have to finish in the top 3 and hope only 2 from the other group will qualify. So it's in terms of mathematics, it looks tough because we also Mumbai, Baroda, Saurashtra, Karnataka, they're all tough opponents. And I think we play Karnataka. Who else? We play Mumbai and Baroda, Himachal at home. The rest of the matches are away, I think. So,
No. Bombay is home, Karnataka is home.
Yeah, that's what I say. Himachal, Mumbai, Baroda at home.
Home, yeah. No, Baroda is away. Baroda and Saurashtra are away. UP is away.
No, Baroda I read at home. Okay, anyway, it's okay.
No, Himachal is home. Himachal and one more. Himachal is in Tirunelveli, I think. And one more team.
We start with Karnataka, Dindigul, Himachal, Mumbai, Baroda. So only 4 matches at home.
No, Baroda is away. The Railways match is at home, I think.
Okay.
Baroda, Saurashtra, UP are away. Madhya Pradesh is away. Yeah. These are the 4 away matches for us.
So we are in a tough pool and it looks tough. I'd be happy if I'm proved wrong, but I don't see them making the quarters.
Okay, so when they don't make it to the quarters, you will not complain, right?
That we will complain. As a Tamil Nadu cricket fan, you will always complain. That is our default mode.
Complaining is my birthright and I shall have it.
Exactly.
Okay, with that, we come to the end of our discussion on Tamil Nadu cricket and the travails of being a Tamil Nadu fan over the years. For fellow Tamil Nadu fans, I hope you found relatable company. For others, especially those guys from Bombay, I hope you understand the pain of supporting a lesser talented team. Enjoy the season. Please follow the Ranji Trophy. I hope it throws as many surprises as it did last year. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
So that brings us to the end of another episode of the 81 All Out podcast. Please subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever else you prefer. It would be wonderful if we could leave a rating and a review so that more people find us. You can also follow us on Twitter at 81 All Out and check out all our previous podcasts and articles on our website, 81allout.com. In case you're still listening, here's a shout out to our sister podcast on regional movies, whereistheotherbanana.com. You can follow them on Twitter at theotherbanana and watch out for updates on all the movie reviews and discussions that they put out. As always, we would love to hear your thoughts on the work we do, so please send us your feedback. Goodbye.
In the air, Srishant takes it. India win.
He'll come back for the second. India have won the test match. India have won the series.
They're going to get back for two.